greatest singer in the world.
But it takes a gorgeous lady doctor to close it.
Not afraid of a shot, are you?
And open it. MGM presents Luciano Pavarotti.
You must promise you will not fall in love with me.
Catherine Harold.
I have no intention of falling in love with you.
Yes, Giorgio. A glorious, uproarious love story. Rated PG.
Now in selected cities. Starts Friday everywhere.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Pod Stallions. I am Mr. Rococo, and with me to my left is manservant Hecubus.
Bueno.
We should just... yeah, you know what? I was thinking about that one. That was prepared.
That was good. That was good. That was
I'm
very
so
good.
bad at these things that if I think about them, they go bad. So
That threw me.
yeah,
That threw me. I didn't know. Yeah, I dig it, though.
yeah.
So welcome, everybody. We haven't done this in a bit. I don't think we're that late.
I've been having
this
computer
one.
problems, everybody, and it's all my fault.
I've been having personal problems, everybody, and it's all my fault. No, I'm kidding.
The big
But we've
personal
had
problem
some-
I have is that my computer's in the basement and it's sunny out and I have a deck. And, you know.
Well, I've got a gambling addiction, and I owe some bookies. So that's my
I
personal
have a
problem.
gambling addiction, but with alcohol.
So what we thought we'd do is it's right around the Comic-Con is right around the corner. I'm going to be at Comic-Con, and of course, if anybody that listens to the show is going to be at Comic-Con, come find me, look for me at the Entertainment Earth booth, number 2343. I'll be floating around. I'll be down there most of the time, but certainly come by and say hi if you're there.
Yeah, I weirdly
We
run
always
into
kinda-
more listeners of the show than you do, and that's odd because you do Comic-Con every year.
I don't think I've ever run into, well, maybe once, but I get odd sort of eBay transactions where suddenly, I mention something because they've got a Doctor Who thing, whatever it is, and like the Doctor Who, the 12-inch figure I got, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, I know your company, I love you," and then they waive postage or something. That's kind of cool.
Actually,
not exactly.
Did I tell?
Not exactly
Sorry.
getting a table at Sardi's, but it's still kind of cool. Waving my.
Did I tell you
postage fee.
recently I went to a toy show in the middle of nowhere? Like it was in the middle of. It was an hour away from my house. And
Yeah,
I asked
you
a guy if he had Power Records, and he said, "No, I don't, but thank you for thinking of me," because he looked like a guy who would have Power Records. And I said, "Yeah, I
Right.
like listening to them with my family," and he goes, "Is your name Brian?" And I went, "Yeah." And he knew the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Ooh.
That's
Made
pretty
the
cool.
drive, I'll tell you.
Again, I always say that I feel like it's 12 people listening every month, and we do it for ourselves to amuse ourselves, but that's really cool to hear stuff like that. And you always pass along the note to me, like you always get
Yeah.
a note or you have an experience or something, and I love getting it secondhand. But it's okay. It makes me more mysterious. You can be the guy that's out front shaking the hands, and for all they know, you're doing the show by yourself, doing two different voices, editing it later. Keep me mysterious. I'm like Higgins in Magnum P.I. You didn't know if he was really Robin Masters or, they were two different people,
Or you're like Charlie.
that kind of thing. Or like Charlie.
Yeah.
Yes. A slightly younger Charlie.
Is Charlie just a recording
so-
of Bosley? I always wondered that.
That's right. Bosley.
So you're the David Doyle of the show.
He could pull it off. No, I'm the, what's his name, the John Forsythe of the show, but is it really John Forsythe, or is it David Doyle doing a funny voice?
David Doyle.
We may never
John
know.
Forsythe was David Doyle's Tyler Durden.
Right. Show was way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. So what we thought we'd do, we always kind of try to do a show around Comic-Con, right before Comic-Con, I think, which is kind of fun because it'll be up probably while it's kicking off, while it's going on. It'll feel like we're all there together, sort of, but not really. We also thought what would be really cool, and it's just on the cusp of the wheelhouse we usually play with, but not necessarily. So if we talk about Bond, like the James Bond films, we obviously get to the 80s and beyond. Most of the stuff we talk about on the show tends to be in a certain time frame, and it usually cuts off around 82, 83 for the most part. But I thought we should do this because I think it's significant for a number of reasons. And it occurred to me back in June, it was the 35th anniversary of Blade Runner, which is one of my favorite things. And then it was like, oh, shit, wait a minute. It's the 35th anniversary of the films of 82. And I think this kind of started back, I think like 2012 or somewhere around there on the whatever that anniversary, that somebody wrote an article or two saying, is it the greatest genre year for movies ever, sort of thing.
It certainly is good for original ideas.
I find it more and more fascinating the more we talk about it or think about it for a variety of reasons. And it's not about a summer or a year full of blockbuster crazy films.
There's a lot of duds.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah,
it's quite the opposite in most cases, but mainly that the quality, the consistent quality of each of these things, either in the film itself or the things it's inspired or how it's endeared, et cetera, I find fascinating. And then, of course, it's coupled with the Blade Runner 2049 coming out in October, sort of for an anniversary. So all those things combined, we thought, let's do an episode to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the summer of 82 and the movies of 82, because a lot of these movies were actually summer movies. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of fascinating. It's one of those things, I think it just, as you start talking about it, people go, oh yeah, that was 82 as well.
Yeah.
But in addition to all that, it wouldn't be right, and it wouldn't be us if we didn't take a sidetrack at the beginning of the episode and talk about the groundbreaking announcement that was made just yesterday about the new actor to play the Doctor in Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. And so I'll let you start with the details. I'm sure bring those by now, but
yeah,
Brian, take it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is now probably a week out by the time you're hearing this, but of course, the big announcement is that Chris Chibnall has chosen the 13th Doctor, and it is Jodie Whittaker, who was from the television series Broadchurch. If you're familiar with that, I certainly am. I don't know about you, Jason. And of course, Jodie is a girl type person, so the Doctor's a she, and the internet broke, and I went all over the place with this. Never angry, because for me, the first thought I had was, well, this is just all my fault because of my hubris. Whenever somebody gets mad about, like, the Kid Flash is played by a black guy, or or Starbuck is played by a girl, I just start giggling and kind of like, get over it, because nothing seems to affect me. I don't really care, and
right.
And I kind of think I kind of amuse myself. Like, there was a guy a couple years ago who was like all worked up over the Annie reimagining. And it was just like, you're in your 40s. I just couldn't see it. And of course, like, my daughter was excited to see it and said it was good. And my wife, who grew up with Annie, was like, yeah, that was a fun movie. And it's just like, yeah, you're the audience, and I don't know, none of this.
And I think, well, I was going to say, I think it's safe to say, based on the years we've been doing this and the stuff we've talked about, we are far from those people that think everything was better, all the time when we grew up in our way. But we are not those guys. In fact, I was just talking about this with an Uber driver the other night because he was complaining about his kids being 90s kids and how everything is easy for them. They've never had to work at anything, meaning, whatever song they wanted to hear, they've got it. Whatever, there's no hunting, for anything. And he was kind of, bitching about it. And I said, I love my childhood. I love where I grew up and the stuff I was into and the stuff that I got to be part of. In many ways, I don't look back on it and think we had it better. Boy, back in my day, it was better to do this, it was better to do that. It is better now. Yeah. In many, many ways.
Oh, absolutely.
It is extraordinary. I'm thrilled to be living in this time. Yeah. Or I'm going to go down to Comic-Con, and every walk of life is celebrating this thing together for 5 days, where, even 12, 13 years ago when I was there, it was not nearly as diverse as it is now. So I love that has happened. And this will lead into the announcement itself. But so did you find that when you say the internet broke, because I saw, what little I did see, I saw mainly positivity.
Actually, I was really, really happy to not read a pile of misogyny, or that the thing I hate the most is somebody blames political correctness, like everyone in Hollywood's just going, we've got to be politically correct, not understanding what marketing is. Like I remember sitting in I think Iron Man 2, and there were 3 young men in front of me, and they were all non-white, and all they kept talking about at the end of the movie is how awesome War Machine was. And I kept thinking, that's why he's in the movie, because these guys want to be represented, and it's not political correctness at all. It's marketing,
It is marketing. It's that my beef with it, and I think we talked about this a lot, and I just it's not about the show being sacred or the character being sacred, or like you can't do this sort of thing. Remember the Ghostbusters thing, and all these guys were like, their brains were melting.
I wanted to punch every one of those guys in the crotch.
All I want is it to be inventive, funny, and good. And if you're going to do something different with it, do something different with it. And I'm there. I'm all for it. This is the kind of thing for me though that I'm not even that steeped in all this stuff where I go, hey, is it what's the ethnicity of Spider-Man these days, or is there a woman that's Thor, or is he a guy? Like, I don't care about any of it.
And neither do I.
Make it good storytelling. Nothing. Because again, it goes back to the stuff that we had, the stuff that we experienced. It is there. George Lucas did not rape my childhood and all that stuff. It's like nothing takes away from what I had.
And that was one of the things.
I can think that this.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say I might think that it's better. My stuff is better, or I don't like the new improved thing, or I don't like those prequels, or whatever. But that's my opinion, and it doesn't. I don't like burn all my memorabilia because of whatever happened.
So many people were pissed off about Rey in the new Star Wars. You brought up Star Wars, and it's like, who's the first hero that shoots a gun in the first Star Wars movie? Princess Leia.
Not only that, unless I'm wrong, she hits everything she aims at.
Yeah. So,
every time you see Leia in the original trilogy, every time she shoots something, she hits it. And she's not a badass like Charlize Theron in Fury Road, but she's cool. She's a leader.
I never viewed her as a sex symbol as a kid. She was just that kick-ass older sister to me.
Yeah, she's like a cool babysitter.
Yeah,
maybe that would come by. But the thing is, having said all that, I have to say, I'm not thrilled about this. And it doesn't, my reaction initially might be, oh boy, I think I'm done. This thing came back, this thing that I loved in childhood. No, I know, that's my reaction. But only because this is this thing that I loved when it came back. It was never perfect when it came back. It had some very cool highs.
And for really me, embarrassing lows.
Some embarrassing lows, just like the original show did. And it's not all precious to me. I've forgiven a lot of things in the new series and a lot of stories that didn't go anywhere.
Especially,
or
do you guys have Christmas marathons? Because I'll watch those and go...
Oh, they'll do the BBC America will do that, yeah.
Oh, and you just sit there and go, oh, God, this is just cringeworthy. And
the first David Tennant one, and just about the big red button, and it's like pantomime. It was like watching a Christmas pantomime. It's so ridiculous, but the spirit was having it back.
Yeah,
how fun it
and
was
I still love it unabashedly.
Yeah, and so, but I'm probably a little more nitpicky than you are, which is I wish I wasn't, but I can be sometimes. But I loved Capaldi. I love that he got cast. I've loved him since Local Hero when I was a kid. That's the first thing I ever saw him in, and I've watched his career and everything. And so it's very. But then I felt like he was underused, and I felt like once again the companions were getting hefty stories and lots of material and lots of screen time, and he wasn't. But anyway, with this announcement, basically, my beef is that. Yes, I think it is about ratings. Yes, I do think it's about this. The show is in a slump. It's been around for 10 years. It's not Capaldi's fault, but a lot of people will point a finger at him, and maybe some of the storytelling they could complain.
They're mostly pointing the finger at Moffat. Like he is. I'm so sick of
but you have, but it'd be hard. It'd be hard not to, I mean, just even Comic-Con, for example, the marketing the past couple of years, especially the year that it was off, was dismal. It's like Timothy Dalton with the Bond films. He was brilliant. Those are, in my opinion, two of the best in the entire series. But, the second one came out in the summer of '89 where everything was huge and they didn't market it. They didn't know how to market it. And so, the blame gets put around his neck. So in some ways they were trying to go, look, you had younger and youngest before Capaldi comes along, and now you've turned a corner, and what's it mean, and merchandise and all. Anyway, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. You could see them going, we got to do something radical with this. We got to reboot it in a way, and this is the best way to do that. And I think they're going to lose some people, but I think that it's going to premiere, and the first few episodes are going to be big, and they're going to say, "See, I told you so."
Well, but they may be really good too, and that's
right.
That's where
kind
of I'm going with it right now. Is I felt really played at first because it's just been building and building, and people have been pressuring for it to happen, and my problems with it have always been, well, the 11-year-old in me doesn't want it to happen. Let's face it.
Right.
But B,
right.
It came out of John Nathan Turner, and this is a controversial thing to say, but I think he largely was a sizzle over steak guy. I don't love the things he did, and in fact, I don't like him.
Yeah. No, he likes putting stuff out there to the press to get people talking about the show. Press was most important. Yeah. I don't think it was ever I don't think the TARDIS was ever seriously going to go away. And yeah, you're right. He did it first, but the truth is, in this day and age, it is where it's at, and it has been given.
Much. Yeah.
It's been given credence by Stephen Moffat, because Stephen Moffat decides to put things in the stories like, the wheezing sound of the TARDIS is because the handbrake is on and shit like that, which makes me crazy. I hate
nothing makes me crazy.
I just hate that it's poking. It's poking holes in it. They're self-deprecating, and then you've got a character in this new season that initially is kind of amazed by a couple of things, and then it becomes old hat. Where's the bathroom? And what is it? The kitchen knock through? I just don't. It's just cute for cute's sake, and I don't think it does anything to the property, does anything for the character. And Moffat started to treat it that way. So he lets a Time Lord say something like, "Well, you're new now. You're female this time, and your attitude's different or whatever." Then of course he does it with Missy, and then it's like, well, of course this is going to happen. It's bound to happen. My problem with it is, number one, I have not been given a reason remotely other than, well, it's about time. We need to do this.
Yeah.
My problem with it is then, okay, but why not James Bond? Why not Sherlock Holmes?
Well,
why not why not just create another character with some of the same characteristics? You can have the same kind of show. I don't know why It is so important to do this right now. It is one of the shows that I think writes and plays with female characters best in genre television.
That's the part that I think you and I agree on, and like I said, I'm not upset about this. I'll check it out. I have faith that this is good because I haven't liked the last two casting choices from the original onset. I thought Matt Smith was just going to be Twilight, and I remember thinking Capaldi is just a reverse of the Handsome Doctors and everything I'd ever seen Capaldi in. I loathed him in. So
I didn't know that.
I was like, when they announced him, I was like, oh, and I was wrong. I was wrong on both counts. So so I don't have a problem with that. But yeah.
And by the way, let me just add though. By the way, I've seen this woman in a lot of stuff, and she's wonderful. She's a wonderful actor, and I have no doubt she's going to be wonderful in the part.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily uptight about it. It's nothing to do with. It's just now you've painted yourself into a corner.
Have they?
Now they either have to. Now, okay, but here's my thing.
Everything's fixable in Doctor Who.
Okay, all right, fine. So let's say the fix is, you know what? It's my last one, so now you got to be a woman. Okay, well, female, whatever. So does that mean the next 3 or 4 regenerations are going to be female? And if not, then let's say the next actor comes back as a man. I mean, if it works, if she works, they don't have to do it or they won't do it. If it doesn't work, they might go back and do that again. And then they're going to get criticized for not having enough faith in it or whatever. I do think it paints you into a corner, and you have to explain a lot, first of which is, why on earth did it take so long for him to regenerate into female form? What is it? Is he controlling it in some way? Is he a misogynist because he wouldn't do it? It is not a sexual character. He wasn't a sexual character until the show came back, and that I never liked.
Fit for me.
It never fit for me.
Yeah.
I never liked the idea, but now it's certainly possible with him being female, whatever. But it just, I think it creates more problems, for the narrative than it needs to. Number one, and number two, I just don't think it's necessary. And what I mean is, and this woman wrote this amazing article online about.
I had a lot of the same ideas she did when you gave that to me.
It was really sharp. I think she said, I for one would like to keep him male because he's the only male, quote, action hero, hero on television that isn't big and brawny, that doesn't shoot guns or throw people over buildings or whatever. He gets out of problems by using his brain and being charming or whatever else.
That's the thing. That was the thing that I lamented, which is, I understand. There's a shortage of action. Of heroes like this, and we do need a Black Widow movie with Scarlett Johansson, and we need a Black Panther movie. We need more diversity. But I was just like, but the Doctor is so rare in male heroes, and that is the one thing I do kind of was like, okay, now like people were saying, well, what are we going to get, a female Captain Kirk and a female James Bond? It's like, well, both those guys are kind of walking penises. They both like to fist fight, and they both like to pull girls. And
but see,
the Doctor isn't like that.
But it's again, I'm not hearing a good enough reason other than it's overdue. But the point that she makes in the article, which I think is even better, is she's saying there's a lot of stuff written about shitty parts for women, or out of date parts, etc., etc. Nobody really worries about the little boys that everything they're watching, they're either the hero, the guy in the comedy he's the dumb husband, or he's dumb in a cartoon, or he's big and brawny in a show, or he's pushing people around, or whatever. That nobody worries about the message that is going out to little boys throughout their lives, or the fact that we had to grow up wanting washboard stomachs perfect abs and perfect like every figure we played with was built like a freaking superhero.
The joke I make all the time is the dad in every commercial is mentally challenged.
Dad in every sitcom practically is mentally challenged. The wife is beautiful and she has it all under control.
And
but the dad can't make a sandwich.
Like the kids are geniuses, but like you ever watch like any commercial for like Wi-Fi or cell phone providers, the dad's always this harmless doofus, He's a doofus that's flipping the channels trying to find a game to watch while she's wondering why he hasn't paid the bill. Yeah.
Because he's just too dumb to even pay bills. Yeah. I mean, that's what makes the Doctor. That's one of the things that makes the Doctor so special.
I do lament the loss of the Doctor. Like I don't lament the loss of. No, it's not a loss, but the change. Like when they changed Starbuck, I was like, he's dime a dozen. That kind of good male rebel with the cigar. It was kind of cool to see a female Starbuck, and she killed it.
I loved it. I loved it.
And so, but having said that, and I want to be the counterpoint to your point. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of thinking about this, and I picked up my daughter at work the other day, and I said, new Doctor Who's a woman, and her point was, and I love her for this because she's just cut right through it. She said, "I hope they cast her because she's great, and not because she's a woman." And I was like, "Me too."
Wow,
me too.
Good for her.
That's I hope that, and I'm given hope by that because Chibnall's.
I have no doubt.
Worked with her before.
Did you see Attack the Block?
No.
She was in Attack the Block.
Stand
she was in a great. She was in a. I didn't particularly like it, but I thought she was great. So was the lead kid who ended up being in Star Wars.
I
was in a great movie.
Her in Torchwood all that, or in Broadchurch all that much, but there's a lot of really good performances in Broadchurch, so I don't consider that a problem.
No, she's great, and I have no doubt she'll be great. And the thing that's really fun about her to me is that she's very pretty, okay, but she's not David Tennant beautiful.
Yeah.
She's got a really interesting face, and that's the face the Doctor should have.
Yeah.
He should be interesting looking. If he's sexy, or now she's sexy, then it should sort of creep up on you. He should not be the handsomest guy that walks in the room. No. That's not. None of them were. Look at those faces we had.
Yeah.
So just in summing up, I'm open-minded. I am not. There is. I can't think of much else that I would sort of go. But do we really need to? This is something that I think is very special, and I don't see anything wrong with the show having existed for the next 30 or 40 years, never having done it. I don't think it's a detriment to the show, or the show's being thoughtless by not doing it. And I felt like it got to a point where it felt like it had to do it. It needed to move the goalposts because it is a special show. It is not James Bond. He is this ethereal thing. We don't know what he's made of. And just because, no one's ever said he could do this before, no one's ever said he couldn't either.
Yeah.
Because that was what the mythology was. But now that they've done this, if you like organic web shooters, then this might be for you. But for me, I never liked yours. I didn't like him. I thought it was like, why? Why would you mess with 40 some years of what this character was, building his own web shooters with little gadgets on his wrist that every kid can go out and buy and shoot stuff with? Now it's coming out of his wrist like
but it was
another
the
bodily
greatest joke
fluid.
Ever. Teenage Peter Parker is making sticky stuff in his room, just like me.
Hit us over the head with that.
No. And I'm just going to end this by saying I thought about it long and hard. There's some 11-year-old prejudice in this, and I hope it's right. I hope they've done a good job. Man, I would not want to be Chris Chibnall right now because he's probably smoking a pack a day because he's got double pressure. He's got to make a great new season of Doctor Who, and he's got to prove himself.
But again, I think that Moffat laid the groundwork.
I'm tired of Moffat blaming.
No.
I think this was going to happen.
If Missy hadn't been in there, but the more he did that, the more credence he gave to it, and then it becomes. I know Chibnall cast her, But there is no way on God's green earth the network was not involved with this, and everybody else. It wasn't just Chibnall going through a book and like circling with a red Sharpie. It's like this was kind of, if you don't do it now, you got shit for it 3 years ago. You got shit for it 2-3 years before that. If you don't do it now, we're going to get a lot of shit. And you know what? It's a great time to do it because we need to kind of reboot the show.
Well, to be honest with you,
I
this
think
last season was fabulous, but look at all the stops they had to pull out. Like,
see, we disagree on that, though. I thought it was going so well. No. I thought it was going so well, and I liked so much of it.
Yeah.
And I really liked Bill. I really liked this new character.
Lovely.
And I love their rhythm. And then I think there are so many threads and things that never got paid off that I thought went nowhere and too much time was spent on. But anyway, every second we got Capaldi, I was excited about because I really loved him.
I think he was a fabulous doctor, but I got to admit that I was kind of like, the show is getting, the show needs a little leg up, I think. I think it's, there was a few really standout episodes this year, and of course Capaldi's acting was amazing, but I started to realize, like, okay, we're starting to get into that, it's starting to get fatigued, and this may be the thing that does it, and it may be the thing that kills it, but I think it'll survive. I think it'll change.
You know what?
Grow.
I'm about to walk into Comic-Con this week, and I'll bet you I'm going to see a slew of female, cosplayers dressed as the new doll. What they think maybe she is with the hood that
that's
she's
not her
promo
outfit
or whatever.
No, she did an interview
I know,
saying that's just my clothes.
But no, I know, but there'll probably be a bunch of those, or in an outfit or something. And I think it's great. That's all great, and I think it'll probably work.
Yeah,
what I mean is, I'm sure she'll work fine. I'm sure it will work for the show to keep it going. But then it becomes, now we're going to have a decade or more probably of female doctors. That's probably what it's going to be. And we just have to accept that she's not going to be doing it for one season. She's going to be there for a while. And then what happens with the next one? And then it does get more profound of a change. And I just, again, it's not that I'm against it. I just don't see the need. When there's dozens of other characters, I go, make that put Pepper Potts in the Stark armor and let her do something. I said, how about, I never understood why they didn't bring back Romana. You could bring anybody back in the park.
That's the other thing that I think we would agree on, is that the show had no shortage of strong female characters. Like, of all the TV shows out there, it's probably the one where women kind of, especially in the new series, but we had Sarah Jane, we had Ace, we had Leela, Romana. There was always
they were tough, and a lot of times
there was a few terrible ones, but
but a lot of times they ended up saving his skin, and they were, they were the heroes of the piece, so they got more screen time.
Yeah.
So with that, I didn't feel like, that the companions got shortchanged since the 70s, maybe, Joe Grant or something.
Yeah.
They were pretty strong-willed characters and well-rounded characters. But anyway, that was supposed to be a couple of minutes, but we ended up talking for 30 minutes
I'm
on
sorry.
that. So half an hour.
Yeah.
So no, it's my fault. So let's go into
Summer of 82,
one of the greatest genre
I would
years
like to open,
of all time.
I would like to open with, I have thought long and hard of this. And I believe that I only saw 2 movies in the summer of 82. And they're...
What?
Yeah. My folks really got into boating at that time. And here's the movies I remember seeing, because they won't matter a lick to this conversation.
Okay.
I saw E.T. Everyone saw E.T. It was government issued.
Yes.
I saw a double feature of whatever Cheech and Chong movie was out that summer, because my dad and I had this weird bond over Cheech and Chong.
Was it Nice Dreams? It wasn't Nice Dreams, was it?
I want to say it was Things Are Tough All Over. Was that it? And
that could be right.
Yes, Things Are Tough All Over. And the co-feature was Hanky Panky, featuring Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner.
Gilda Radner.
And
Oh
it
my
was
God, I
directed
remember
by
that.
Sidney Poitier, and it was no stir crazy. I remember even thinking, like, as a
I
kid,
forgot about Hanky
this
Panky.
movie sucks. And, Things Are
I
Tough All
forgot
Over
about it.
was average at best. But those were the... Yeah, my folks, we didn't do any movies. I could not get my dad to see the second Star Trek, and, we'll go into it. So... I was 11 years old this summer, as I recall.
Well, but here's what's interesting about what you just said.
Yeah.
Because to me, this is kind of double-edged. Okay, first of all, and these are in no particular order, but this is what comes to mind. Obviously, the big ones that come to mind are Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan,
Mm-hmm.
Blade Runner, E.T., which was massive.
Yeah.
The Thing, Carpenter's The Thing.
Yep.
The Road Warrior, which is Mad Max 2. Tron.
When did the Road...
Dark...
Okay. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
Tron. I don't remember when the Road Warrior came out. You're probably absolutely right. Was that summer? Or was that just...
That was summer. I think the only one that was like a holiday thing was the Dark Crystal. I think most of
the trouble with movies back
summertime.
then is they would hang out in theaters forever. Like you think it's a summer movie, but movies didn't go away in 2 weeks like they do now. I'm just trying to think when the Road Warrior came out.
No, you're right, and that's but here's
Actually,
here's
it
what's
came
kind of
out in
fascinating.
December of 1981 in Australia. And
Right, so it didn't get it was called Mad Max 2, I think, in Australia.
Yeah.
But I think they called it the Road Warrior here.
Oh,
'Cause
they
Mad
did.
Max
I
came out
remember
here.
it well.
Mad Max came out here, and Gibson's voice was dubbed.
Yeah.
For America. I forget who the guy is that did the voice, but his voice was dubbed. So then, really, even though he had done some stuff before this, I think Gallipoli maybe came out in '81 or something. This was really America's major introduction to Mel Gibson, was the Road Warrior, and George Miller and everything. So that's
You're right.
all
It came out in
and
May of '82, by the way.
Poltergeist
Mm-hmm.
came out in '82, and Conan the Barbarian. That's what I remember off the top of my head. Now, again, of those, Blade Runner, which I snuck into with my cousin because I was underage.
Yeah.
E.T., which a little bit of trivia about E.T. I've only ever seen E.T. once.
It was. You know what? You and I. Yes, I have. I watched it once in the theater. I enjoyed
that's
it.
it.
I certainly.
Yep.
certainly personified with Elliot with his, Atari games and
Yep.
Star Wars action figures.
Yep.
I have no nostalgia for E.T. whatsoever.
None. I have nothing against it.
No, it was a
good luck
quality
to you.
film.
Good luck to you, E.T.
Yeah.
I hope you come back sometime, and good luck on your voyage.
I really thought we'd
not-
get into a debate about that because I just don't care.
No,
Yeah.
not my bag.
Yeah.
And what's more, I remember not really caring about it at the time. Like, it took me a while to see it, and then I did, and I cried. I mean, I was like
Oh, yeah, it
12
moved
or 11
me.
or whatever. I definitely cried, but
Yeah.
once I was done, I was like, I don't want to go buy some ET figures or
No.
a spaceship or shit.
Well,
like,
my
it's
mom
not.
bought me a plush E.T.
Ooh, hey.
But I actually talked to a guy who was dealing those, and he said the bottom dropped out of that market like immediately.
Oh, well, you know the Atari story.
I love that game.
Yeah, well, it's what killed Atari.
I was that kid.
Was that?
I know, I've seen
You were
that
the kid.
beautiful documentary, but
Did
I
you-
actually really enjoyed that game.
Did you ever see the rubber finger?
Yeah,
With the light at the end of it, like you press it a bit.
gigantic phallus.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe when they pulled those off the shelf, they put the Dune sandworm right up there.
I can't. By the way, I cannot wait for our Dune episode.
I can.
I really can't
Um,
because we really need to do a Dune episode because I love it. Okay, but
we're
so of
totally
those,
Felix and Oscar on that one.
Blade Runner, Tron, Dark Crystal, Star Trek II, Poltergeist.
Well, let's
Those are the ones.
break.
Those are the ones I. But I'm saying those are the ones I saw in the theater.
Oh,
What's
okay.
interesting about what you said. What's interesting about what you said about not seeing many of them in the theater
Mhm.
is the other place my brain goes when I talk about these movies from '82 is I feel like these movies from '82 were part of my, junior high or growing up with VHS.
Oh yeah, VHS.
I remember
pay TV really helped. Like I think
Road Warrior, Blade Runner, were stable. Like my cousin would rent them for days, and we would just watch them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Poltergeist not so much, but The Thing, Blade Runner, and Road Warrior, especially Road Warrior and The Thing.
Yep.
We rented over and over and over again.
Conan the Barbarian and The Thing were like West Lynn video specials. In fact, I'm still really close with the guy who showed me The Thing in 1984. And, The Thing screwed me up. Screwed me up big time. Where I just showed my son it recently. And I was kind of like, a little worried about, showing him this. But
so how old was he when you say recently? How old was he when he saw it?
14.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we were what? I mean, I was like 12.
I think I was 13 when I saw The Thing. 14, 13.
I didn't see it in the theater.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the theater.
But all right, let's start with The Thing then. Did you love it when you saw it back then?
Yeah, I didn't get to see it when it was originally out because I was 11. I remember Leonard Maltin.
Saw it on VHS.
Leonard Maltin calling it a stupid movie, but he was so married to the '50s version that I discount his opinion.
Yeah, I remember his book. He gave it 1.5 stars in his book, called it like a gore fest.
But my close friend Chris, who I'm still friends with, was just like, "That's the greatest movie ever. You got to come over and watch that." And he had a VCR and I didn't, and we watched it. And it's just shocking. It's wonderful, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I loved it as a kid. My love for it has only grown.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one of those movies that I get giddy when I go to put it on because I feel like it's not like in my top 10 or my top 5 or whatever, but it's just one of those movies that's just like, it's almost like comfort food because every bit of it, every inch of that thing is beautifully played, beautifully played out. The way the tension builds, and the cliche thing to say these days still is how amazing the effects work still is.
The Rob Bottin effect.
How amazingly it holds up. All right, let's do Star Trek 2. You must have seen Star Trek 2 in the theater.
I did not, because I dragged my dad to Star Trek the Motion Picture, and he refused.
He's like, I'm not getting burned twice.
And I wasn't quite old enough. I think it wasn't until the summer of the fall of '82 that my parents went, okay, you can go downtown and go to the movies by yourself. So I saw Tron for $1, like a month after summer. So that's how I saw Tron. So I did not get to the theaters, but that's when I actually saw Star Trek 2 for the first time in my grade 7 classroom. Teacher was hungover and put a movie on.
Nice.
And it was,
wow.
But I did buy that amazing Starlog.
That's awesome. You got Star Trek. We got like Nanook of the North.
I got Star Trek 2, Rocky 3, and Gary Coleman in whatever that one where he lived in the locker in a bus shelter.
All the marbles.
No, not all the marbles. That's different.
That's Peter Falk.
Peter Falk, and that's Lady Wrestling, right?
That's right. That
was around the right. That's probably an '82 or '81 movie.
I remember the poster.
I do too.
But I thought I went. My brother Jack, who I've talked about before, he was the Star Trek guy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a world pre-Star Wars where religiously we'd watch Star Trek on the weekend, and he knew the show so well that from the opening scene or two, now think about this, like in 75 or 76, the syndication of Star Trek, he could tell from the first minute or so, the pre-credits thing, he knew what episode it was.
The teaser.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have like a box of DVDs to look through and a reference book and shit. He was really good with that.
I've got that scary crap going on in my brain, but I don't know where my keys are most of the time, so.
Right.
Yeah.
It's it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't have everything. But so that was a big deal. So I went to motion picture with him. He took me to motion picture with his friend Paul Jacobs, who fell asleep halfway through the frickin' cloud. Jacobs was asleep next to me, but I was like, 9, and and they're seniors in high school. They're taking me to a movie, So motion picture was a big deal. But Star Trek 2, we went and saw on a Saturday, I think, and we went to Arby's afterwards. We went to Arby's.
What a spectacular evening.
Hey, my brother treated me right. Movie, Arby's. But I cried. I mean, it's one of the few times I've actually cried in the theater.
When I did finally see the film, and I'd be hard pressed to find a Star Trek fan who doesn't like Wrath of Khan.
It's just not. You can't. There is no. It's like the way people talk about Empire Strikes Back over the years.
I mean, I have this weird rose-colored glasses thing for Star Trek: The Motion Picture, as we know. I bought the Starlog magazine that described the movie, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I really need to see this movie." And it was one of the first few movies I ever rented too.
Well, it's funny you say that because, again, unless I'm mistaken, I think Wrath of Khan, because my cousin was obsessed with renting stuff. Like, he had 2 video cameras and 2 VCRs, and he could take shit and make things. He always had loads of stuff, But I remember that being like a budget VHS tape. And by budget, I mean probably like, $21.99 or something. That was.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I remember that being like at the video store and a standee like on the counter of the video store.
Wow.
And it wasn't like everything that came out was budget. A lot of tapes that came out was like $35.
No, they were like $100. I remember trying to buy a copy of Doc Savage, Man of Bronze, at Sam the Record Man. And it was at their video section, and it was 1989. I remember buying this, and the guy said, "Okay, the movie costs $120. We will give you $2 off for every time it's been rented in the last 6 years." And they went and counted, and I forget.
Let me guess.
Yeah,
let me guess.
I got $4 off. No,
let me guess.
I think I got something.
Good news is, it's a brand new tape. It's a brand new tape. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
Bad news is, no one has rented it in the 10 years we've been around. We still get a discount.
I forget what I got, but I think it was like half price. And I remember I was such a huge Doc Savage fan. So movies were really expensive back then.
What I love about this story is A, that it's you trying to buy Doc Savage in '89.
Yeah.
And B, I love that. Listen, we'll give you $2 off for every time.
Yeah, that was their policy at Sam the Record Man. It was a cool policy.
Let me just check the book. I don't know, unless we did something wrong here.
Yeah.
According to these records, it's never been rented. I don't know. What is it? Is it like a weird movie? It's like, no, it's the greatest movie ever. Give it to me.
No, I would never say it was the greatest movie ever.
$120. Okay, the other thing. So E.T., we got through E.T. So Road Warrior, that was a big VHS thing, and again, obsessed. Like, we'd watch it over and over and over again.
I weirdly prefer
and the
Mad
nudity.
Max to it, but
really,
yeah, I love Mad Max.
I look at Mad Max, and it's almost like, to me, it almost looks like a B movie that was made. Like, it looks like a Roger Corman thing.
Yeah,
like in the mid-60s.
It was a Roger Corman.
And then all of a sudden, Road Warrior was like digital. Like to me, that's in a separate. It's like a thing of its own. Like, the only thing I think that's come close to it is Fury Road and what that thing was.
I feel you on that. I think the reason I do love Mad Max is it's that grindhouse exploitation revenge film, like Rolling Thunder, and I just kind of really dig that whole.
Did we talk about
I like
that
exploitation too. Have you ever seen the movie Turkey Shoot?
No, but wait a minute. Did we talk about the documentary, like Nearly Hollywood or Almost Hollywood or something about the Australian?
Have, but yeah, and I do.
You've seen that, right?
Oh God, yeah.
God, that is an amazing documentary.
Look up Turkey Shoot. You'd love that movie. It is. it starts out with this kind of basic premise, and then it just gets weirder and weirder. It's a futuristic movie, people in a camp, and they're being hunted by it's that typical story, but they add enough weirdness to it that you go, okay, I'm on board. Like I showed it to some friends, and they'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
And
I'd take your recommendation.
by the midpoint, they're like, okay, this is getting really weird. And it's like, yeah, well, I'll spoil this for you because you'll watch it.
No, I want to see. Wait a minute, I want to see it.
No, it's not a spoiler.
Spoil it.
What I've already explained to you is the future, and they're hunting inmates, in a 1984 kind of society, and they all bring their own weapons, and one guy brings a werewolf.
Oh.
Yeah, like
was it just,
those are a thing.
You just had one.
Yeah,
you just had one laying around somewhere.
And you just go, okay. And anyways, it's a lot of fun. And
I mean, you're probably guaranteed no one else is bringing the same thing to the party.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you
bring a werewolf.
Yeah. I highly recommend the film, and you'll recognize a lot of people from different movies in that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turkey shoot. Speaking of werewolves, let's talk about Tron. Bad segue?
Those don't segue.
I know. I'm just trying here.
Okay.
I'm working with the PAs on the show did not give me great notes, so I'm just going with what comes off the top of my head.
Okay.
So Tron was this thing that I saw the trailer for.
Yep.
What the hell is this? Video game. The game came out before the movie, so everybody's sort of talking about the game. One of the greatest arcade games ever in the history of games.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And I remember going to the Roseville 4 Theater in St. Paul, and there was remember when they used to do big cardboard standees in lobbies?
Yep, they still do.
And it was that. Do they still do that?
I just took a picture of the War for the Planet of the Apes one.
Oh, that's great. Well, these ones were like,
you live
like
in
I remember
Hollywood.
the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, it's just posters with people's faces on them. I have not seen a standee in a theater lobby since I don't know when. But they used to, they used to have like dimensions to them. So like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Ansel poster with him with the whip over his shoulder, that was in the thing. But then there was they had a little rope out front, and Indy was going down the rope. Like
my kids were sitting on the Guardians of the Galaxy couch a couple weeks ago. So that's still alive and well.
Now that I've seen, but I saw that in London. I saw it for Peanuts and something else. They do that little couch thing, you take pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember the standee, which was Bruce Boxleitner, holding his hands up to the skyward to get the disc, and then what's her name next to him. And I remember seeing it going, I think that's the movie that we saw a preview for, because we never called them trailers, they're previews.
Mm-hmm.
And then I must have seen it 3 times, at least 3 times, I think. And I remember even as a kid not like loving it, but really liking it. And then got all the toys, got all the action figures, got a yellow light cycle. Best of all, I got the Tomy also made a handheld electronic game, which was 3 different games. It was the light cycle, the disc throw, and then destroying the MCP at the end. So that was kind of a big movie for me. But it was like, you just got the sense that, no one's really getting lightning to strike here. Like we all want to see something like Star Wars, but it's not quite happening.
There was a lot of PR around that movie, obviously, because it was so innovative. And I can remember that something I watched had Walter Cronkite visiting the set, or the post production, and doing his own little where he was put on the set of Tron. I remember it really well, actually, because I didn't see Tron first run. I think I saw it at its second pass at theaters, and like you and I might differ. I think you're a really big fan of Tron. I'm of a that happened. Like it's okay. Right. I just don't think it's. I think it's good, not great.
No, I should clarify. I have a great fondness for it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great fondness for the design of it. I don't love it. It means something to me because at the time, we were trying to grab whatever was out there.
Yeah.
But I don't love it the way I love Blade Runner. the way I love every frame of Blade Runner and all that. I mean, it's just that it I don't think over the years, and this is why I really enjoyed Tron Legacy. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Was that Tron was never cool. The coolest thing about Tron was the design. And you look back on a lot of that design and you go, wow, it's dated very well. Considering when it was made and what was sort of going on in the universe at the time, it really holds up design-wise. And it's hard not to like the light cycles and because the figures are really cool too. The Tomy figures.
I never saw those. I don't think those ever came to Canada, or if they did, I just didn't live in a big enough area to get them. But I would have bought those if I saw them because they were neat.
Oh
as hell.
Man,
yeah.
I remember walking down the aisle at Target, and all of a sudden there they were, and I nearly messed my pants.
Yeah. Well, they're cool as hell. I don't know why I don't own a set of those. Didn't NECA remake those?
NECA reissued them. They did vintage style cards reissues, and they did a new an anniversary type card.
I thought they were really cool. I just wish I liked the film more.
Right. They're just one of those anomalies in the action figure world. It's like, wow, you can just imagine people sitting around a desk going, "This movie, I don't know if it's going to work. Let's look at some footage from it. Like, what the hell is it? How do we convey that in an action figure?" And they made them clear plastic, different colored plastic.
Yeah.
With the design printed on the body.
Yeah.
Which I think was pretty genius.
I think they're inspired looking. I really do like them, but it's just one of those things that's like, I'm not that fond of the property, so I don't own any of them. But I do look at them every time I'm at a toy show or something and go, those are really neat, The
other thing I love about them is they not only do they come with a disc, so Tron,
and they glow in the dark, don't they?
Each come with a disc. The disc glows in the dark, which I didn't know. It didn't tell you on the packaging that it did, I don't think. And even better, each disc had a little peg on the back of it, and you could stick it on their back where it went in the movie. Like, I'd never seen the like of such a thing in a 4-inch figure. The Star Wars characters couldn't put the guns in their holsters or lightsaber on their belt or something. Like, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Gabriel, I think, did it. Kenner did it with the Butch and Sundance ones, but that was because of the trick mechanism. Trying to with Indiana Jones, but that was again the trick arm mechanism. But I think Gabriel did it with the Lone Ranger and those figures like Zorro and stuff, where you could put the little guns in the holsters. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other thing that came out in '82, I think, which I think will get you excited for a number of reasons. One of which is Adrian Barbeau. I'm pretty sure Swamp Thing came out in '82, didn't it?
It did. It came out in the. It didn't come in the summer of '82. It came out February of '82.
Well, there you go.
I did not see the film in the theater because, my God, I lived in the sticks. I did end up buying. I swear to God, there was a comic book adaptation of that movie in a novel format, and I also got a second book that was just all like a pocketbook of Bernie Wrights and stuff. I fell in love with the character. Just absolutely fell in love with the character. When I finally did see the first movie, I didn't enjoy it. I don't actually like Wes Craven's Swamp Thing. I adore Jim Wynorski's Return of Swamp Thing from '89.
Is that the one with Heather Locklear?
Yeah, and
right.
I was in high school. I was just out of high school. I was like working at a pizza place, and I didn't have a car or anything, and my girlfriend didn't want to go, so I took like a bus and a train to see it on opening night.
Wow.
And I had read the Peter David novelization and thought, this is the Swamp Thing movie I'm destined to see. I can't wait to see this. And I go to the theater, and I remember one, like, there were two other people in the theater. And when I walked in, there was this really horrible poster with word balloons. And I was like, uh-oh. And of course...
Oh, that's right!
And the Peter David novelization was really nice, but I don't think Jim Wynorski and Peter David had any sort of conversations. And I
forgot about that.
I ended up really liking Warnowski's version of it. Like, it's a fun movie, and then of course it spun off into a TV series that took it all serious that I enjoyed. And I've actually been, friends with Jim.
Was it the same? Was it the same
actor
in the TV series?
Yeah, Dick Durock has
Durock,
played
right?
Swamp Thing. In fact, I tried desperately to talk to him once in Florida. That did not go well.
Oh no!
I really like him. I thought he was great. But yeah, Swamp Thing came out that year. It was not a big hit. It was, of course, all the thing that they wrote about in Starlog's comic scene magazine that year. They were hoping it would be a big hit, and so was I, actually, because I really... At least it gave me my love of the character, and I'm very happy about that.
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah,
it was
did you really? You're a rare bird.
Yeah, because it was like, my dad, Sunday, like, well, maybe we'll start a damn movie on Sunday, like, pick something out of the paper or whatever. And I was like, whoop, Swamp Thing, that's it, doing it. I knew, I was slightly familiar with the character because of, comics and stuff, but I wasn't.
So now that was a movie that mainly found its bones in cable. It became a huge cable hit.
It's a really strange. I mean, like Louis Jourdan, I think is the villain in it.
He's our Anton Arcane, yeah.
Right, and he ends up a year later he's in Octopussy. He's the Kamal Khan in Octopussy. Adrian Barbeau. There's a few other faces you kind of recognize.
It's kind of a ponderous movie. Like, Adrian Barbeau's just running around in the swamp a lot, and I mean, like, that's not unpleasant to look at.
No.
But the movie has weird tonal issues too, I find.
You know what I think too, and this could speak to a larger thing in 1982 or something. I don't know what this means, but it got me down. Like, I remember being a kid in the theater and thinking, this is not like a superhero type thing I want to see. Like, this is really depressing. Like they're getting the best of him, and they, like almost like RoboCop. Like, that still turns my stomach. They
cut his arm off, and they're just constantly beating him and
shooting him to death, and all this stuff. So, but there is a theme. Like, a lot of this stuff in 82, very, very dark stuff.
Yeah.
Like, these are not fun. Like, Tron's not really a fun movie. As much as it tried, it's not fun. The Thing, obviously, we haven't even gotten to Blade Runner and Dark Crystal. Let's talk about the Dark Crystal, because the Dark Crystal is one of these things that I think everybody was thinking, the first couple of Muppet movies had come out. They did very well. Muppets are a universal thing. This kind of feels like Star Wars. It's Jim Henson, Frank Oz. It's fantasy. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. And I know a lot of people that are our age or a little younger. The Dark Crystal means an awful lot to them.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not bagging on it. I saw it once in the theater, and I never needed to see it straight through again for the rest of my life, because that movie gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
As like an 11-year-old.
Now, that's not a summer movie again. That is a Christmas movie.
But even Christmas, it's depressing, and these Muppets get tortured.
Dude, I've never finished it.
The bird guy gets raped. I mean, it's like I can't believe the number of people they're all excited about.
There's a DVD copy 5 feet away from where I'm recording this right now. I've never seen the film all the way through.
I think I live with it. I just remember.
Sorry.
Well, I'm going to say that was one of those moments of, like, you and I have talked about those let down moments. Like, you think the movie looks cool in the ad or something, and then you go to see it. It's like, what the hell is it? That was one of those moments in childhood that I wasn't like crushed, but I didn't know what I was walking into to see this movie. And, this is also a time that I'm still kind of depressed about, Han Solo being frozen. Is he going to come back in the next one or whatever? So we had Indiana Jones.
Get over
and
it.
Blade Runner thing, and I'm never going to get over that. I'm never going to get over that. And, he gets beat up in Blade Runner and everything. It's like, I'd like something fun here. The Muppets and, Jim Henson, and then it's just beautifully made. I mean, beautifully conceived and made.
It's a pure sci-fi fantasy, but yeah, I remember, and I've made this joke before, the heroes look like they have burn victims. Like, everybody looks weird in the film. And
well, Sam, the woman that takes her eye out. Oh,
yeah, no, there was nothing. There was nothing there for me. But no. I live with a kid of the '80s. I mean, that's my wife. I mean, she's just enough years younger than me that everything that I think is garbage, she thinks is great. That it's given me a lot of perspective on, wow, it's really about when you were born that things are great.
It is. But I would use the argument that the things that we talk about, I have a fondness.
Yeah.
But, so these are things that are right in the pocket of stuff that I should love when it hits or be hanging on to today.
Yeah.
Because of my affection. And yet, Dark Crystal,
even Netflix's Stranger Things came out, and I watched it and went, I don't like this. And she was hooked. And
I thought it was great.
Yeah, but she likes that. Like, she thinks The Goonies is a good movie, whereas I know the truth.
It's usually The Goonies and Neverending Story, the big one.
Oh, I know. Her big one would be Labyrinth. And
Labyrinth is another one that doesn't. Didn't we talk about this? Where I was at Comic-Con one year and somebody was wearing a Hook T-shirt that said bang. It said Bangarang.
What's Rufio? Yeah. Then you just wanted to go jump off a roof because you're old.
I wanted to beat him up.
Yeah.
For the first time, I wanted to beat up a nerd and go, take that off right now.
Yeah.
This movie's never going to be cool. But yeah,
it will, because time equals cool, And maybe that's our irony too. I don't know.
But why is it that we can look back? I can easily look back at Doctor Who from '81, at Tron, at Dark Crystal, Swamp Thing or whatever. I can easily look back at these things
and say
and
they're not very good.
They're not very good.
Yeah.
I don't own Dark Crystal. I don't own Swamp Thing. Tron, I've got a copy of Tron and whatever.
Tron bothers me to watch now because of the video game music was also the arcade music.
And it gets stuck in your head.
It's irritating.
It's Wendy Carlos, too, right? Didn't Wendy Carlos in the music?
You tell me. I'm trying to go.
I think it was Wendy Carlos
for this one. What we should talk about is the film we both agree on was the greatest film of 1982, and that is Yes, Giorgio.
I was wondering when we were going to get around to this.
Oh, yeah. Let's spend the rest of the episode just circling around that.
I was going to either hit that or Cat People, the Paul Schrader.
Now, Cat People, everyone our age has a little special place for, if you're straight.
Well, that and Bowie, I guess, that makes me think of David Bowie. Didn't he have a Cat People song?
Maybe he did. Yeah, maybe he did. Yeah.
So, yeah, was that before or after the poster with the snake that she did? Remember that poster that was everywhere?
Oh, I don't know.
It was Nastassja Kinski. She's a black and white poster, and she's laying down with a snake covering up her bit. But it was like this shocking.
Brothers. I don't remember that one.
It was just this, oh my God, it's so shocking. What is she doing? What are they thinking? It might have been after Cat People, but she was starting to make a move.
I was more of a Pia Zadora guy at that time, but yeah.
Butterflies? Is that your favorite one?
Yes.
Was that the one? Was that the one she won Best Newcomer at the Cannes Film Festival?
I don't even know. And I just remember that I kept getting denied at this video store to rent that. No, you can't rent that. I was like, all right, I'll come back.
You're not old enough.
I'll come back till the next clerk comes here. I got time. I was riding my bike in the parking lot till you change shifts.
Right. Butterflies will be mine. I am taking.
And then I was disappointed with it. I got into the story.
Yeah, because it's it takes a while to get into.
Yeah.
Unlike Stacy Keach.
Yeah.
The other thing, this again. Let's go back. Let's just thinking about some of these titles and stuff. I think if you start going down the list of these movies, I think Road Warrior being a re-release, like it had a release in Australia, it did very well.
Mm-hmm.
Brought it to America, I think it did well in America. Star Trek 2 did very well. It's lucky that it did. I don't think it ever did. I don't even know if it made more than motion picture, because motion picture made a lot of money.
It did, but it was kind of like everybody wasn't happy about it.
Right, but I'm saying I think people tend to think motion picture was like
and I think
a disaster in every way. It made a lot of money.
That's the other reason I didn't see a lot of movies that summer was my sister was working at the CNE, which is the Canadian National Exposition. It's our big fair. And my parents insisted, like, every day after work, driving down to Toronto and being with her because she slept there. And so I basically spent that summer at a fairgrounds, which really didn't suck. I saw Styx that summer.
Nice.
And I, they would just give me like $5 and say, go on the Midway. So I was like living on the Midway. So there was no time for movies.
Was that Mr. Roboto?
I think it was. Yeah, I think I got a shirt and everything too.
I'll bet you.
And
did.
I got to. This was back when they still had freaks. So like, I saw the woman turning into a gorilla. I saw like all those kind of shit shows. So it was I actually wouldn't trade because I see all these movies now, but
right.
You just kind of stirred that, and I did get a Star Trek. The Vengeance of Khan, Dinky Enterprise, or was it Dinky?
Yes.
And from the CNE has a merchant's, like a market bazaar that always smells like lavender, and I take the kids every year. They still have it, and that smell of lavender reminds me of old trading cards, old comic books, because there was booths there, and that getting that Dinky Enterprise. So I wouldn't trade those memories
But that's true, right? The Dinky Enterprise, the small Dinky Enterprise. I think they made a Klingon cruiser and the Enterprise.
And they said the Vengeance of Khan. I remember that.
Said Vengeance of Khan, which was weird for two reasons. One, the only Klingon ship in the thing is the one. Right? Do you even see it on screen in the simulation? Do you even see it?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
You do see it. Yeah. Okay, so that's. They were like, shit, we can use this mold again.
Yeah.
Lucky that thing shows up in the...
And Star Trek was on every day that summer on Channel 29, and that's when I really got into Star Trek. I watched every episode, and I had no idea Khan was... I think a lot of people didn't know Khan was a throwback to the old series.
I had no idea.
And Channel 29 did a big thing about it, and here's my story of that time, is they were playing the Wrath of Khan episode at night. They were playing, Space Seed. We're going to play that at night.
Space Seed.
And we were at the X, and I didn't know how I was going to watch the show. And there was a big furniture display at the X, and it was, I think there was a store called Stewart's in Toronto, and it had this flustered guy who would yell, like, Stewart's is having a sale, blah, blah. His name was Harold. I just remember that. And my parents said, your dad wants to go look at a couch. So we ended up at the Stewart's thing, and there was Star Trek on one of the TVs in the AV section.
Oh, wow.
So I am watching this episode with Khan, like I'm sitting...
Oh, that's...
3 episodes...
Yeah, you told...
No, this is a different story. I have more than one of these stories.
I was wondering how come this sounds so familiar. I know you saw something on a
Buck
screen
Rogers.
in the store.
Yeah, I've done this a bunch of times. And all I remember is watching this Wrath of Khan episode, and I turn, and my dad is in a very heated argument with the Stewart's TV guy. Like, they're yelling at each other, and it was surreal because, someone who's on TV doesn't seem real to you as a kid, even though it was like a local asshole. And it was just like, my dad's yelling at the Stewart's guy. Like, they don't look like they're getting along at all. And I don't think I think I stuck out the last 5 minutes of that Star Trek before my mom's like, we're going,
And you're like, please let it not bleed into my enjoyment of the show right now.
That was all I was thinking about.
Just wrap up the argument, Dad.
Let me just see Kirk win this one.
It's almost done. Well, I didn't know. I had no idea that it had any... I don't think I'd ever seen the original episode at that point.
Oh, yeah.
but to see it with my brother was very cool because he was the big Star Trek guy. And I think I saw it again, a couple times. But again, I think, first of all, I think a lot of stuff was overshadowed by E.T. because it was so huge.
Yeah,
I think so
it killed
massive.
The Thing, for sure. And then
But
John Carpenter.
Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dark Crystal, Tron, The Thing, Blade Runner, for God's sake. I don't think Conan did that well either. Conan was an R-rated
smash on cable and video.
On cable, but not again. It's one of those 82 movies that got another life in 83,
I think
84
if there
on
is
video.
a running theme to 82, it is appreciation after box office.
Yes,
and
but I mean, in some cases,
especially when you talk about Grease 2, my God,
right? But no, but in some cases, I mean, truly, like, I know you don't agree with this, and doesn't mean much to you at all, but the stature of Blade Runner in 35 years.
I will not piss on Blade Runner's opinion.
No, I know.
But I don't get it, and we'll get to that.
Right.
But it hasn't ever gone away since its release.
No, and it's just, and again, the stories of the making of stuff is always fascinating, especially if it doesn't go smoothly. If like everybody's betting against the filmmaker, or if it's like, well, I wanted to cast this person and they wouldn't let me, and then when it turned out or whatever, but there was no indication that these things were ever going to have a future. I mean, the nightmare of making Blade Runner, the nightmare of making Tron, like right up to the deadline to get this thing done and the effects work and I think Jim Henson had like a nervous breakdown on Dark Crystal because it was such a nightmare, whatever. And none of these things made much impact when they came out, except for Poltergeist was huge. Poltergeist was
huge, but it was such you got why it was a blockbuster,
right? And I think it's brilliant. It's another one of those movies that I could just, if it suddenly it's on, I might just stay and watch, because it to me, it was one of the first, I think it was one of the first truly scary things I saw in the theater without my parents. Like, again, I went with my cousin. My dad had already seen it. My parents were separated at that point, and so he, occasionally, like when they're on the phone, he'd say, "Okay, you got to see this movie. It's going to scare the crap out of you." So I'm telling you, it's going to scare you. And I remember seeing it and being scared. 11 or 12, whatever it was, being scared, but like excited scared. Like it was thrilling to be seeing this thing in the theater. And I just remember people screaming, and when she was flipping up the wall, and these women behind us that were just screaming like, "What's happening?" And like they were, having seizures or something.
Yeah, I actually was like, it's not sacrosanct to me, but I did kind of think, like, when they remade it, I was like, why?
I don't know why.
It's fine. Don't touch it. It's,
don't touch it.
Yeah, it didn't need that. And my wife was like, "Well, I'm going to go see it." It's like, why? You like the original, and it's a moment in time, and it can't. I don't think it can be terribly improved upon. And
well, the other thing that's fascinating about it, again, a lot of these things with the making of stuff.
Yeah.
So Spielberg is executive producing this thing, and
apparently
Toby Hooper,
the scuttlebutt is he was so handsy, he basically directed it too. But I don't know.
The scuttlebutt I've always heard was that he would come on set and he'd say, "No, it's your movie. Go ahead and do whatever." And he would try to get it a certain way, and then Spielberg would take it upon himself to go over to the actors and whisper things in their ears, and coax performance out of them. So, he I think, and it feels like a Spielberg movie. I mean, just every bit of it.
It does have a lot of really big fingerprints in it, and but that was a big. I think Poltergeist did well. I think. E.T. was obviously massive. I think Star Trek did pretty well, but just about everything else Road Warrior, but that was was a re-release or whatever. But just about all these movies were not. That's what's so fascinating to me about that 1 year of all of these things are looked at, but not as classics in the sense of perfect movies. No,
but Tron for the visuals, Blade Runner for many aspects. Poltergeist is just a great horror movie. Conan as just, oh, wait, shit, they did a Conan movie? I mean, like,
But
that
the Conan
finally
movie
happened,
is
and
the
John
Conan
Milius...
movie's pretty good. I don't like fantasy.
It is good.
It is,
Yeah,
but it's a good movie. Yeah.
But didn't it seem to usher in that whole, fantasy genre that
like
came
you
after
just
it?
got nothing but lazy Italian knockoffs after, and I love
Right?
every single one of them like they're children.
Sword and the Sorcerer and
Ator,
Beastmaster.
and I actually
Your
like,
Hunter,
I like the
Hunter from the Future.
it's like the Italians all just went, oh, forget about Escape from New York and the Warriors. We, Italy at that time was really focused on post-apocalyptic. They were really into Road Warrior was especially influential in Italy, but the
Right.
Warriors and
What was
Escape from New
the
York.
Vic Morrow one? Bronx, 1990,
The Bronx
Warriors.
Warriors, which is really kind of like Road Warrior and Escape from New York-ish, and a lot of the
Let me-
Warriors in there.
Being Italian, I think I have to represent here. Let's just explain, Coppola, Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino,
Lenzi,
Maserati, Lenzi,
Fulci.
the other Lenzi, me,
Yeah.
Fulci. We can't, that's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Sophia Loren. Like, maybe it got spent after a little while, and then the 80s came in, and, we thought we've given enough. Let's, we'll let them, the next gang come in and do whatever.
There was always fun Italian knockoffs, and Italy is one of my favorite countries. And I mean this with earnest, like, After the Fall of New York and those kind of movies. I love those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I unironically.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
So for that, okay, so there you go. So there's Conan comes along, and suddenly, I think it did
Everybody's
pretty
Conan.
well. Suddenly, everybody wanted
Lou
to. But
Ferrigno was Hercules.
But it was the thing, though, that even though we can go back through the 70s and point to things that Schwarzenegger was in,
Yeah.
He's a bodyguard in this movie. That's the thing that put him on the map.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing that he was, like, above the title, and it was perfect casting in just about every way.
Yeah, except
And
a
it
lot of people, Conan fans, and I find this fascinating, don't like him as Conan all that much. Because he's not, I don't know, there's some sort of bias. And
Really?
I'll leave it
He's
to
just
that.
one of those, like, he's just one of those things where, like, it's hard casting superheroes or casting heroes and things.
But
But he worked in to me, as what this guy would have come off the page being.
Yeah.
The way I talk about Sam Jones,
Yeah.
Flash Gordon, like, I don't think you could find a better guy.
But how did Conan get so buff working that wheel? I never got
Well,
he should have had humongous legs.
He's probably doing some push-ups in between that you're not seeing. I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
I
I don't hate that movie. I just I have no real head for fantasy movies.
I don't hate it. I think I've maybe seen it once.
Oh, I've seen it a
But
bunch
it's one
of
of those-
times.
But it's one of those things, and again, all of this stuff that we're talking about, the other thing that's synonymous with all of this to me, all of this is synonymous with Starlog magazine.
Oh yeah.
Like every movie we're talking about,
Yeah.
every experience that we've had,
It was our internet.
we read something about it before. I mean, I remember the cover of one of the it wasn't the cover. It was the inside flap, the back inside thing that said "coming next issue," yada yada yada, and it said something like, Harrison Ford does sci-fi again in this Blade Runner thing. He might have to shave his head, or it looks like he might shave his head. I mean, that was like an exclamation mark. Like, that was a big, and of course I think somebody, you just think about it now, through the grapevine must have heard that the character of Rick Deckard in Blade Runner, initially, Ridley Scott had envisioned him in a fedora. He wanted to make it very Bogart, 1940s, but neo-noir kind of thing. And he met with Ford, and Ford said, I just got done making a movie where I'm wearing a hat, a fedora in every scene. I'd rather I didn't. And so he buzzed his hair down to that Blade Runner buzz cut that he had. But it's like you think about, well, somebody must have gotten a little snippet of gossip or something, and it made its way to Starlog magazine.
Oh yeah,
and that's what they put in the back cover, you know. And of course,
I do like a lot of this stuff comes from Starlog for me as well, because
oh my
where
God,
else do we get our information?
I mean,
are we getting on to Blade Runner? We're going to just pass Zapped.
I know how much you like Willie Ames stuff.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
If you want to take a detour down Zapped Avenue, you go right ahead.
Here we go. Zapped was a film in 1982, and it had Scott Baio, and it happened. All right.
Was it the woman from Fall Guy?
It was a Heather. It was one of the many Heathers that were in Hollywood at the time.
I think it was the Fall Guy Heather something.
I only rented it to see breasts.
Well,
and
I rented
there were
it
a
for
lot
the story,
in there.
so shame on you. I rented it for the story.
I'm such an unusual.
God, you know what? It's funny you say that because a buddy of mine named Tim Mosher, who is a musician, writes themes for game shows and different things, and he used to be in a band called Junkyard, and they made a new album and a bit of a comeback tour they did this summer, I think. Anyway, so he invited me and a buddy of mine to the Whiskey A Go Go a few months back to see the show. But we went up to the green room as well. So kind of cool to be able to go, man, I was in the green room at the Whiskey.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in other green. That's pretty cool, you know. And it's a real trippy, this is where rockers go to, this is their green room, like in the Sunset type thing. It's not fancy in any way, shape, or form. But there's a monitor, a VHS, and shelves of VHS movies that we kind of amused ourselves with, and playing on the screen was Zapped. Somebody had put in the copy of Zapped, and it was playing with the sound off, and that was the first time.
Happened to be there.
It looked like, oh my God, it looked like a puppet show from the 50s.
Yeah,
like just the effects and what the gags were, and how long it took to set up a gag.
Oh yeah, it's not a good movie. In fact, there's a remake that showed up in one of my kids' feeds, and I guess it's like a Disney Channel remake of this movie. And
of that?
Yeah, but it's like a kid-friendly version, and it's like, really? This happened?
The whole point of that was
he basically does a parody of Carrie at the end, and he exposes every woman's boobs, which is pretty, apprehensious these days, and it doesn't. And yet, it didn't age well.
Based on a true story.
It's based
on a true story, though.
Sorry, so that's Zapped, and
so Blade Runner to me is, when I think of it in 1982, I think of Blade Runner. Like, it's just, and again, along with the darkness and the weird, the alienation, and just the vibe of some of these movies. Most of these movies we're talking about are not fun movies. They're not like fun
Runner,
summer type.
And for my opinion, is not a fun movie.
Not in the least. But it's the kind of thing that I think the studio. I don't think they set out and said, "Look, we want this to be arty.
Yeah,
we want it to be."
No studio ever said that.
No, they hit the jackpot with Ridley Scott and Alien, because Alien was a big movie, and it was artistic. It was artistic as well, and so I think they thought they were going to get something like that. And the story of Blade Runner is like so convoluted and it's so far from what it ended up being, like the way it progressed and who might have been in it. Like Dustin Hoffman was up for the part, and they were talking to other people and stuff. But it's again one of those things to me that is kind of perfect, and just it gets better with age, and the music, the design, the characters, the performance, everything. I couldn't be more excited for. I just can't believe that we're living in this age that these things are happening, that I'm going to see Harrison Ford in a Blade Runner movie again. And the thing about it was, I was about 11 or 12.
I was 11. I remember.
I picked up the Marvel Comics adaptation.
Oh, you and me both, sir.
Right? Which the cover, because I didn't get the individual issues. I got the complete
the beautiful magazine adaptation. I
Yes, and
also spent my pocket money on that fine publication.
All right. Well, the cover was done by Jim Steranko,
Uh-huh.
which is awesome.
And I
to
believe the
begin with.
interior art is done by Al Williamson, right?
Yes, it is.
And
yes,
so
it is.
it's
And again,
gorgeous.
I'm looking at this going, why does this look so familiar? Because he did the Empire Strikes Back adaptation,
Oh, yeah.
and he also did the Flash Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
adaptation.
I was, they saw me coming with that. I'll tell you that.
Right, and
Yeah.
then in the back section, there was a bit of making of.
Yeah.
There was like an article about the making of. There was bios of each actor. Like, I used to just pour over that, between that and the official magazine.
Yeah, and
that I
that
just
summer,
covered
too, the Marvel Star Wars comic was amazing. They had the Empire, it was pre-Return of the Jedi. The Empire was building a new Death Star called the Tarkin. And it was this
right.
long-running story arc, and I can remember that summer, like, just racing home with the new issue of Star Wars comic, because it was just brilliant, and being captivated by that. So when I went to Checkers Variety and I saw that copy of Blade Runner, I'd never heard of the movie, but there was, Han Solo, one of my heroes, and I bought it sight unseen, and unlike you, I friggin' hated that book. I was mad and disappointed in that comic, and thought this movie's boring and sucks, and I don't want to see it.
Well, it's funny because I remember reading the adaptation, thinking, "Boy, this seems really not fun. This is not what I thought it might be."
It was cool to look
and then
at, but
I finally saw it with my cousin.
Yeah.
And I was just so busy taking it in that I didn't really know what I had just seen. Like, I don't think I walked out of there hating it. I don't think I walked out of there loving it. It just was kind of like, huh. And I thought about it in the car afterwards, and like, what is this? What was the point of that? And like, what was the this and that? It took a long time. I mean, I grew up obviously too, but I always had this affinity for it. And the special magazine that came out that had the Ertl ad on the back with the Ertl cars.
Those
I found
cool
a couple
Ertl cars. And were you in the fan club?
No. What happened was I never mailed away for the fan club.
But you own it now, right? Like, you are the world's greatest Blade Runner collector that I know.
It has taken me. It is something literally that I thought never existed.
Yeah.
You mailed away for this fan club kit. The early, or the people that mailed away from this particular magazine, you got this blueprint of the Spinner, the police car.
Yeah.
And I bet I spent 20 years, from toy shop newspaper to internet, looking for proof of a Blade Runner fan club kit, and I never came across it until a few months ago on eBay. I don't know what I was looking at or why, but this guy had one, and it was a pretty penny, but I had to get it. And now I officially have, it's missing one piece, but I finally have proof that this thing existed. They couldn't have made many of them. And I also just recently got I think I told you I got the Japanese Somenosuke, I think.
Yeah.
Gun.
You're like a mark for that stuff. And I can appreciate that, because, there are properties that I just think the world of that, aren't shared. Although I think you're actually you're in a different place. Like, Blade Runner is actually pretty much, I feel like I don't get it. I just don't get that film. But I am alone in that. I'm not alone in that, but I'm the minority in that, I think.
This gun, this Tomenosuke blaster, which I got, which is a heavy replica, right out of, prop kind of thing, and if you only made like 100 of them or something. But this for me is probably like the UFO gun for you.
Yeah, and
like
I feel
tracking
that,
down
that's a really good
Japanese UFO gun.
Yeah, that's actually, I think it's like a Thailand UFO gun. But yeah, that's a really good analogy. Is not everyone loves the TV series UFO. I clearly do, and I have a lot of like triggers and issues with items that come out of that. So I'm not knocking you, and I think most people
I know.
love Blade Runner. I've tried, and I've
to be
just
fair,
never
Blade Runner,
gotten it, you know?
Blade Runner is. I do think it's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
I do. I think loads of people love it, but I do think it's an acquired taste. I think, you know, the people that I ever talk to about are mainly, you know, geeks like us that just love this. Oh, Blade Runner is great, you know. But I mean, it's not. It's beloved in a different way. It's not beloved the way the Dark Crystal is, or Labyrinth or whatever.
I can't stand Harrison Ford in it. I know that part of that problem is that his narration is something he didn't want to do, and when Harrison Ford doesn't want to do something, his contempt just boils out of him. And
it's funny because wait a minute, he was great in Force Awakens.
I thought he was walking through that.
You're insane. He was fantastic in Force Awakens. I had been
sparkles on the screen.
I had been waiting. He doesn't sparkle in Empire. He doesn't sparkle in Star Wars. I'm sorry. I waited. I was 12 or 13 when I saw Return of the Jedi, and I have been waiting my entire adult life for him to come back and do something because of how little he had to do in Jedi. And I thought I know he's laconic, I get that, but I mean, he came to life in this thing in a way that he hasn't in like 10 years in movies. He was having fun.
Kind of. I wish I agreed with you on that. I wanted him to. I loved him.
Oh, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was just,
you know.
I loved every second.
But I find him in Blade Runner the more interesting characters of the robots, like the replicants.
Yeah, and I think that was one of his complaints making the movie, was that his character didn't have much to do, and that they weren't sure where they were going to go with the character. And all that. But all of that to me is part of the appeal, and it's funny because the voiceover, the narration, which in '92 when it came out, the director's cut or whatever, he pulled the narration out.
I watched the director's cut in '92. I rented it at the same place I bought Doc Savage, Sam the Record Man, and I was sort of like, I still don't get it. I had rented the thing that evening, so that was a lot better.
I kind of like the voiceover. What I mean is I know that version the most because that was the version that we'd rent on VHS.
Oh, I see.
That had some extra violence.
I kind of like the Walter Hill's director cut of Warriors. So that's sacrilege to a lot of fans, but I like the way what he did with it. Well, there's also like with Blade Runner, there's like 4 or 5 different versions of the movie. I think there's 47 different versions. And actually, I was lucky enough to see in '97 or '98 the work print I saw on the big screen, which had different titles and different music cues and stuff. So that was very cool. I think Blade Runner competes with like Evil Dead 2 for different variations that have been released.
Well, I think it's also like some of the stuff that we like Evil Dead, but a lot of this has to do with who has the rights and who's doing what, and they're doing things without this person's permission, or they had to get this thing out to VHS in the UK or whatever. I mean, 10 years ago, I got all the way to like a legal office that seemed to have the rights for Blade Runner, and they
told
said,
you to go push up a rope, right?
And clearly it's the same case because NECA is now doing figures for 2049, but nothing for the classic film.
And they answered on Twitter something to the point of, we just have the modern. So
that's right, because so somebody is still not happy with the rights, or God knows what it is. So all this stuff is. Well,
if you've ever read the fascinating case of the Batman '66 rights issues, it's amazing.
You mean the reason it took so long?
Yeah, and it was just because there was William Dozier granted the rights to his lawyer, and his lawyer passed it on to his kids, and his kids were just being, stubborn about it, and
and so much of this too is like the Ladd Company folded, like all these entities that were involved with producing the film, like they had to give rights to other people, and all of a sudden it gets somewhere and you think, God, don't you guys want to make some money off of this and do whatever? I do have the Blu-ray Japanese version when the movie came out in all these different formats, like 10 years ago, like a big box set kind of thing. They put it out in Blu-ray in Japan,
Of
and
course they
Medicom made a spinner,
Yeah.
which is like for 3 3/4 inch figures. So I've got that. I should send you pictures of these. We can put them up for the thing. But so for the most part, all these 82 movies. It was a big summer. It was a big year for stuff.
Yeah, and we
none of them. Come 83, nobody was talking about them, and then all of a sudden they're on video in like late 83, 84, and people start talking about them again, and now they're all considered,
Well,
Stone Cold
we
classics
didn't, we
for the
didn't
most part.
discuss. Let's discuss some of the bottom of '82 before we end up.
Yeah.
I think the one that is the most, the biggest flop because Mattel had the toy license, and there were comic ads, and there was video games, and it was Megaforce.
Was that 82?
That was 82, and I have a friend who.
Wow.
I have a friend who's probably listening right now who, his big joke to me was, I begged my parents to see it, and we had to go downtown Toronto to see it, and he was just like, I have the buyer's remorse.
I remember that. Didn't that get? I think that got a cover. I think that got a Starlog cover.
Yeah, it did, and
right?
recently I think Rift Tracks did it, and it's
makes sense.
Oh my god! Like I forget. I think is it Golden? I think Golden Harvest put all their money in that.
Like who? But I mean, who directed it?
Hal Needham, I think.
Hal Needham.
Yeah, but I mean, you have Barry Bostwick in gold lame, with a headband. Blowing
feathered hair, beard.
Yeah, blowing thumb kisses at Persis Kambata. And I mean, there's just nothing better than this film. It's just, I saw like
Persis Kambata. I forgot she was in that.
Yeah, I've seen all of these movies. I saw all these movies on a year later. The pay TV channel gave a free weekend, and my old man was notoriously cheap but liked movies, so he just basically like pulled up a lawn chair, and I swear to God, he pissed in a bucket, and he watched like 50 hours of movies. So we watched Megaforce, we watched The Road Warrior, we watched, like, it was just, it was never not on. And I don't think that, I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever seen Megaforce. Oh, it's terrible. And then
I don't think I've ever seen it. And didn't they make? But they made. Did Matchbox make cars or something?
Mattel did. Mattel shoved them out in Hot Wheels, but Mattel had like the full toy license and did dick with it. I think Activision had the game license, and there may be a Megaforce game, but they smelled a turkey and got rid of it. And then that same summer we had the Beastmaster, which actually is another 82 film that got a Jim Wynorski sequel, where the Beastmaster was not probably a huge hit at the time, but it was another one of those cable legends, and actually did get sequels in a television series years later.
These were these movies like,
and I love the Beastmaster, by the way.
And I'm not trying to sound like a conservative dad here, but Beastmaster, Swamp Thing. These were PG movies.
Yeah.
And there was stuff happening in these movies that was really, like, kind of nightmarish. And, you could understand why that other rating sort of came in, because you think about some of the PG stuff. Look at Poltergeist.
Yeah, you had
PG.
The Beastmaster had the dad from Good Times in a loincloth. I mean, my God.
Well, you also had, didn't she?
Tanya Roberts.
Didn't she go, topless in there?
Oh, I don't know.
Or somebody is getting breastfed or something. I don't know. Like, there was something. I just remember being in the theater, like, kind of cringing.
You saw the Beastmaster in the theater?
Yes.
Wow.
I totally did. Yeah. And nothing against Mark, what's his name, singer or whatever, but wow, that guy, what a goofy. How the hell did he become a leading man for a couple of years?
Oh, my wife was in love with him on V. He
looks a little touched. I don't know. what.
If
How
you
politically
ever watch
incorrect it is
V,
for me to
they
say
look
that.
like they just sprayed his jeans on. I think that had a lot to do with his appeal back
They
in the
sprayed his jeans on, but he was also his eyes were slightly askew.
What a nice
had
man,
a-
though. I got to tell you, I ran into him in New Jersey
yeah.
at a Chiller Theater, and he was, of all the people that signed autographs, he was into the experience issue of it, where he would shake your
Well,
hand and look you in the
Okay,
eye.
now I feel guilty
Yeah.
for saying what I said about the guy. Thanks for that. Thanks for being the nice guy.
I don't want to piss
in
off the
this
cast of V, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, because we want to have them on.
I'd have Jane Badler
that,
on.
is it any other bottom feeders you want to?
Well, they're
talk
not the
about before I
summer of
trash
'82, but let's
her
talk
face?
about. Let's talk about just '82s, and we might go into these in other episodes. But let's just go into '82's more interesting genre films. We had Friday the 13th 3, which was in 3D.
3D.
I remember
right.
seeing the trailer
wait.
for that.
Wait. Was Amityville 3D in '82? Was that '83?
I think that's '83.
Okay, because there was an
Amityville 2
in
came
3D,
out in
wasn't there?
'82, and it was competing with Yes Giorgio on that weekend. Halloween 3 came out in 1982, which, as you know, is
brutal.
the best of the series.
It's brutal.
I
brutal.
kind of have a fascination with it because
Of course you do, because you love weird stuff like this.
Yeah.
It is a bunch of guys doing blow around a table in a conference room going, you know what would be cool? Masks!
yeah.
We put masks on. And
Let's get rid of the Mike Myers
I-
thing. Let's turn it into Twilight Zone anthology.
That-
Didn't work.
was insane.
Yeah.
That was insane. That was 82?
Yeah, it was '82. Creep Show
Was it
came
called-
out that year. Very
Season,
timely.
Season of the Witch or something?
Season of the Witch.
What was it called?
Season of the Witch. Yeah.
Okay.
Creep Show came out. R.I.P. George Romero, which I still think
Fucking A.
holds up. And the classic.
Creep Show's
which-
good.
Oh, Creep Show's
good.
great. The classic film that I still actually I watched recently. It has not held up well. They Call Me Bruce.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember the trailer for that.
Yeah, everyone does.
I remember the
TV
Oh
commercials.
my god.
I rented it, remember going, and then
And it-
just before I moved last year, I found it like on YouTube, and I
If I'm not
maybe got
mistaken-
halfway through it.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a question mark.
Yes.
They call me Bruce.
And there was, they still call me Bruce. What's amazing
Question-
is that
question
Johnny
mark.
Yoon has aged amazingly well.
Wait a minute. Now that we're talking about it, was Coming At Ya in '82?
No, I think that's an 83, and we'll have to do an 83
83.
episode, because I think
We
there's a
should do
lot
an
of
83 episode.
there's a lot of schlock and awfulness in there too.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think if there's a theme to this summer of '82, it is appreciated after the fact. I really do. I mean, the more I read this, the more I look at it. A lot of these films didn't get the appreciation that they did because of the onset of home video and perhaps the newness of that. You know?
I mean, it is. I think. Okay, so Swamp Thing you said was February.
Yeah.
Dark Crystal I think was a Christmas thing.
Yep.
Just about everything we've talked about
Most of it.
came out in like a 2.5 month period. And when you think about the stature that those movies have all these years later, and have that the way they've grown, that they're stone, like The Thing is like a stone cold classic, like people just love it up and down kind of thing. Not only did they not, a lot of them not do very well, that's a lot of quality
Yeah.
and strangeness in one summer. I think there's a great, we should post it, because somebody discovered this like a year ago or something and put it on YouTube or linked it to me. I don't know what, but it's the show Entertainment Tonight, which would have just got going in 81, 82.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that goes, well, let's say what's coming out this summer. And he does this preview type thing in like a 4-minute piece. And you just sit there and watch it, go, oh my God, that came, oh yeah, and then that. And he's listing off all these movies for 82 that all have become, classics. Like that's a lot of cool stuff.
It's amazing.
In 82.
It's amazing, and they
You know?
were, like I said, I remember Leonard Maltin on Entertainment Tonight saying The Thing is a stupid sequel to a classic. And
I remember him. Yeah, he
Yeah.
gave it 1.5 stars.
yeah.
The little
And he gave
paperback
Laser
book-
Blast 2.5 stars. I just want to point that out. He gave Laser Blast 2.5 stars.
He also gave Temple of Doom 1.5 stars.
So did I, but that's okay.
Oh, come on! It's not Raiders, nothing is, but there's good stuff in there. You know,
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
some good racist humor in there. You know,
Old timey racist.
that
here.
old timey racism that holds up so well all these years later. Anyway,
Let's
there
go
you
through
go.
that in a forbidden episode.
There you go. There's our Comic-Con New Doctor / Movies of '82 episode. I hope that you've all learned something.
And I hope you all
And-
rush out and buy Hanky Panky on Blu-ray.
Yes, and keep your donations coming. It's what
Yeah.
helps us eat.
We should
We
start
appreciate it.
We should start a Patreon account where they just send canned goods.
Right?
Yeah. I like
and,
baked beans and
you know,
tomato sauce, not in molasses. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and as always, your suggestions are welcome, but not necessarily follows. No, I'm sorry. We've got a whole list of stuff that people have suggested that we'll get to.
We're
but I
going to
thought,
power through that list and enjoy every minute.
35 years later of this great genre year, I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, cool.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Okay, good
Take
night.
care.